Greetings YouTube and welcome to the Dragon Network. Today's video, I'm going to be doing some talking, like I always do, especially since Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy sneak peek is coming up this weekend, and there are some things I definitely want to cover before that happens. The first one, which will be in this video, is a deck profile of something that benefits immensely from Lord of the Tachyon Galaxy. It's a fan favorite deck, and it's Dragunity Tempest. So, we all know the story about Dragunity, yada yada yada. I've done it several times before on this channel. Any Dragunity player out there knows about Phoenix Flare X, and so on, so on, so on, so on. So, let's just get right down to the nitty gritty about this deck, and that is, with the release of Tempest, the Dragon Ruler of Cyclones, or the Storm Incarnate Dragon, or whatever the hell they're going to call him, this deck has become really good. Like, it's picked up the speed that allows it to compete with Mermail and Fire Fist and like our current fast decks right now. Unfortunately, the deck is being overshadowed by just how much faster Prophecy and Elemental Dragons as a whole are. But that doesn't make this a bad deck. I mean, it's probably one of the best tier 1.5 decks that are out there in Japan, and barring Tempest going to 1, it's gonna survive the ban list completely unscathed. And even then, one Tempest will be enough for you to do your shit. Gold Sark will be at, well, hopefully will be at 3. But needless to say, though, if Elemental Dragons as a whole, like the Elemental Dragon rank 7 shit show deck, doesn't appeal to you, and you want something faster than Disaster Dragon, then this would be the deck I would recommend going after. All it needs from the new set is 2 copies of Tempest and 1 Tachyon Dragon. That's all. It shouldn't be too hard to build, although if you are trying to get this from scratch, then good luck picking up a playset of Adriana's Retreat. Now they're apparently going for $45 a pop, and this guy's 42. Like, yeesh, this is like nearly $160 in extra deck cards. And granted, that's nowhere near as bad as needing 3 Big Eye in 3 Drago Sack. It just goes to show you how badly cards from Starstrike Blast need reprints. But I digress. I'll be going over my deck profile that I've used in several of my videos. It's nowhere near as control-oriented as Phoenix Flare's Dragunity Tempest build. Mine's just highly aggressive, and it's trying to go for the throat as soon as possible. It doesn't really want to go to past 5 turns. Like, its mid to late game is pretty terrible. But in exchange, I get an extraordinarily explosive early game. Anyway, we'll start off with the usual suspects: 3 Ducks, 3 Phalanx, 2 Mistletoe, and a Leviathan. There's no Legionnaire or Acklys in here. The general consensus I've gotten from people is that Legionnaire Acklys is just too slow in a breakneck meta that Dragunity Tempest is trying to go in. Like, you don't really have the time to try and grind out games. Like, they're better for games 2 and 3, and I would side deck them, but in the main board, they're just really iffy at this time. When the format hopefully slows down in September, Acklys and Legionnaire, or at least Legionnaire, can come back into the deck, but as it is, I'm just not running them. Then we get to the fun part: 2 copies of Tempest. We should all know what these guys do. They have been the bane of all Yu-Gi-Oh players for the last couple months, but long story short, you pitch him in a win to search any dragon from your deck to your hand, or you can banish 2 winds or 2 dragons from your hand or graveyard to summon them from your hand or your graveyard. When he's banished, you add 1 wind-type dragon monster from your deck to your hand. During the end phase of the opponent's turn, after this was card with special summon, it returns to the hand, and you can only use one of these effects in a turn, and the effect of this guy can only be activated once per turn. We all caught up now? Good. So, what are you using this guy for in here? You're mostly going to be using him for his banish effect. You're going to banish it either through Gold Sarcophagus, Red Eyes, or Garuda the Wind Spirit, and you're going to use him to search out Dragunity Armor Leviathan and Dragunity Phalanx. And what he does is he allows you to make use of hands. Like, if you're missing a Mistletoe or a Phalanx, but you've got Ravine in the hand, you can Sark out this guy, get the piece that you're missing, and then do Dragunity combos. He just adds more speed to the deck, and at worst, you can just continually banish winds to summon him. He's a 2400 beater. During the opponent's end phase, he'll return to the hand, and you can just pitch it for Ravine and do shenanigans. Last dragon of the deck is Red Eyes, best dragon in the game. And then rounding it out, 2 copies of Zephyros. I'm not particularly fond of 3 at this time. And then 1 copy of Garuda. I'm also not fond of Baby Brock, but I am starting to come around and like this guy. You can search out with Gatorg, and it's just, it allows you to do more shit with your combos. You can remove a Tempest that hasn't used his effect yet, and yeah. And that's it for the monsters. A little bit higher than usually seen in Dragunity, but again, all you're particularly caring about in this style is just trying to kill your opponent as soon as possible. You're either going to OTK them or create a board with negation on it. One of the two. So let's get to the spells. 3 copies of Dragon Ravine, which for some reason is not a holo yet. Like, what the hell, Konami? Get on that. I want my super rare Ravines. And then you got your 3 other copies of Ravine. And then 3 copies of Gold Sarcophagus. You want to see this as soon as possible to sarc out your Tempest. Or if the game starts dragging on, to sarc out your Reborn, your Storm, what have you. But yeah, you just want this to get to sarc out Tempest as soon as you can so you can start comboing. And for the other 3, MST, you do not like back row, so get it out of there. 2 copies of Cards of Consonance, discard outlet to put Phalanx in the graveyard and do your combos, not to mention draw power, draw power, draw power. 2 copies of Lance to protect your guys. 2 copies of Night Beam to also get around back row. Then for the 1-ofs, Foolish Burial, Heavy Storm, and Reborn. Will not comment on Dark Hole because I've already gone over this. Lastly, traps. Now normally this deck tends to run 2 traps at most with effect failures, but I'm just finding it really difficult to bring myself to do that. So yeah, I'm doing 2 Fiendish Chain and 2 Psalms. I probably should not be running these, and I should probably cut a card from the main board, maybe Leviathan, so that I could max out on effect failure. It would give me a better chance against turn 1 shenanigans, but I do like having Fiendish Chain able to stop attacks, which is very good in this deck, and you can balance it with Zephyros and pop up for Scrap Dragon. That's it for the main deck, 40 cards. Now for the extra deck, 45, 45, 45, 40. I mean 3 Vajrayana and a Gatorg. Said it once before and I'll say it again, do not try to run this deck without 3 Vajrayana, especially this turbo build. You will go through 2 of these in a turn, maybe even 3 if you open really fucking dirty. Like, I'm sorry, your wallet's not going to like it, but if you really want to compete with this deck, you need these 4 cards. You have to get them. I'm sorry. And for the other synchros, you got Crimson Blader. Should be hopefully a super ultimate in the next Astral. Thought Ruler. Hey, look, as a deck devastation virus targets. Scrap Dragon, double Stardust. I'm hoping that we eventually get Flashing Carrot Dragon Stardust at some point. Yeah, the second Stardust I'm a little iffy on. I just kind of threw it in because I had like 1 slot and I couldn't think of what else to put in. Maybe another Atum. I've seen some builds run 2 of them, but yeah. Right now I've got the double Stardust, and lastly tried Dragyon. I'm running Leviathan in the deck, so it is quite easy to OTK out of nowhere on the first turn. If you open Ravine Zephyros, you can end with trying Dragyon attacking 3 times. Then for the XCs, get your rarely used rank 4, but it's Pearl over other stuff, as the 2600 attack lets you beat over Ophion. That's rather important. Then for the rank 6s, Atum, Bouncer, and then Gaia Dragon and Thunder Charger. We all know what these do. And this is supposed to be a Galaxy-ized Tachyon Dragon. It's obviously not out yet. The ideal way to make this is you're going to overlay this. You're going to make this by overlaying Leviathan and your level 8, so maybe Stardust and Heliopolis. Stardust and... oh, you know what I'm trying to say. Frick. Yeah, basically, Tachyon Dragon is if you're trying to go for an OTK play. If you are thinking your opponent has a Trigar Gores, then this guy's going to get his effect off, and he's going to go to 4,000, and he's going to be able to attack twice. And that's basically what you're doing with this. If you're going for the OTK, you think they have Gores or Trag, you make a Tachyon Dragon, and then you got a 4,000 double attacker after you've like swung with your Red Eyes and your Thunder Charger. So that is the deck. Profile, I know, is a little shorter than what I usually do, but I wanted to get this done really quickly, and you guys already know a good portion of Dragunity's and what they're trying to do. As for combos, I'll try and get to that at a later point. I've been asked a couple times on what combinations you can do to like fuck up your opponent considerably. Obviously, the best play that this deck is trying to go for now, thanks to Tempest, is this and this in hand with a Ravine. Tempest will get you whatever one you don't have. You then pitch this to get ducks. You summon ducks. You special phalanx. You send the phalanx off to special this, and then you just get dirty. And it's disgusting the degenerate plays that Dragunity can do. And yeah, like I said, it's a very good deck. It's a solid tier 1.5. It's Blaster Lavals and Tidal Mermail, but it's just not that fast compared to the top 2 decks of Japan. How will it do here? I don't know. There's definitely been more interest in Dragunity right now, especially since of the Elemental Dragon decks out there. This is probably one of the more cheaper alternatives. So again, you know. Yeah. But anyway, I'm just rambling at this point, so I'm just going to shut up now and let you give your own feedback in the comments below. If you've been playing Tempest Dragunity, tell me what you've been doing, what you've been running. Do you like more traps? Do you like less traps? Do you like no traps? Do you like Legionnaire Acklys? Right now, I'm on the fence. I kind of want to tech a Legionnaire back in, but there's only so much room you have in this deck. I had to already cut out a lot of things just to fit in the additional spells like Night Beam. Night Beam's doing me good, so yeah, I cannot complain. Anyway, that's it for now. This is Obelisk TGS jacking out.